And you should be good to go.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. I would like to call the board meeting to begin on November 19th, 2020 at 4:37. This is our ACDHH meeting, and we'll go ahead and begin.
Okay, I can begin with roll call if you'd like, PV.
Yes, please.
Okay, roll call. We'll begin with the commissioners present. Commissioner PV Jantz.
Here.
Commissioner Sarah Benton.
Here.
Commissioner Barbara Brimhall. Okay, Commissioner Judy Hutch.
I'm here.
Commissioner Sue K. Neifel.
Here.
Commissioner Catherine Cienko.
Here.
Commissioner Susan Webster.
Here.
Commissioner Fred Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Richard Vanover.
Here.
Commissioner Annette Reichman.
Here.
Commissioner Tamara Collinsworth. Okay, we'll give her a moment and I will circle back to Commissioner Barbara Brimhall.
I'm here. Just couldn't get the sound on.
Okay. And once again, Commissioner Tamara Collinsworth. Okay, so for now, we'll move on to staff present, ACDHH staff. Sherry Collins.
Here.
Carmen Smith.
Here.
Betty McIntyre.
Here.
Curtis Humphreys.
Here.
Victoria Vaughn.
Here.
Emmett Hassan. And I know Emmett is present, so we can go ahead and conclude our roll call.
Perfect. Thank you, Katie. I appreciate that. We have a quorum, so we will go ahead and get started with the approval of the minutes. Do any board members, did you all have the opportunity to review the minutes, and are there any questions or concerns? If there's no discussion on the board minutes from the last meeting, I'll take a motion to approve. This is Commissioner Cienko. I move that we approve the minutes from the last board meeting. We have Commissioner Cienko with a motion to approve the minutes, and I see Commissioner Webster has seconded that. And Commissioner Annette Reichman also seconded that. All in favor, please, by showing the raising of your hand. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 3, the chair's report. My report will be pretty brief. You are already aware of the coronavirus issues that continue to be a challenge, and we are meeting virtually for that reason. Unfortunately, due to the nature of these types of meetings, we're not able to take public comments at this time, but we hope that as we are back in person and we're having our board meetings in person, we will be able to again take public comment. Of course, if there are any questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to us before the next meeting and have the community members reach out to me as the chair or to Director Sherry Collins. We do have 3 vacant board positions. Unfortunately, We had Commissioner Calderon recently moved out of state, and unfortunately that position became vacant. We thank Calderon. We will miss Commissioner Calderon, but we do have that position vacant, and we're hoping that we will have someone apply for that position. There are 3 positions vacant, and they are a deaf representative, a hard of hearing representative, and a hearing aid dispenser, a licensed hearing aid dispenser. If you know of anyone who may be possibly interested in applying, please let them know that they can get that process started. And I see that there's a question from Commissioner Kneifel.
It's more of a statement. I understand there's 3 vacancies, but there are several other positions that their terms have expired and are not renewable. And so there are several more positions that should be applied for as well.
Right. Thank you so much for that. And we are still working through that process, figuring out what we should do there and trying to determine what we should do, because coronavirus, everything has really slowed down, processes have been delayed. And so we are working to identify these vacant positions, and hopefully sometime next year, we can start to work on those. My goal will be to have that an agenda item that we can actually discuss and have a vote on. I would like to see that as a future agenda item. And that pretty much sums up my chair's report for tonight. I would like to turn the time over to Director Collins for your report to the board.
Hello, everyone. Is my sound okay from here? Good, good, okay. All righty. I can't help with the light of my glasses because I need to use my glasses for computers. So there's no avoiding with the light or I'll be in the dark. So I apologize. Well, since our last board meeting in August, a lot has happened. A lot of good things have happened. At the same time, there's been some challenging times because of the COVID-19. And as you know, been going through this, what, 8 months now, I think. And so a lot we've learned. And so, but more of the good thing that we have, learned how we manage and become innovative and creative, how we continue to provide services remotely, especially doing things online. The training component of our staff has increased. More and more people are requesting for training from different areas, domestic violence. I mean, it's just the DDD, which is a wide variety of trainings we have provided, Attorney General. And so we're seeing more and more of that. And also we're doing a pilot on the ASL, and that's becoming very popular. So we're really excited that more and more people, organizations are contacting us, asking for training. And at the same time, we'll be able to reach out to more people because you can participate no matter where you are, and you don't have to deal with the traffic or long distance driving. So those are the areas that we anticipate more and more training requests will happen even after COVID-19, because we can do it. We have Zoom, we have the technology to provide all-inclusive, accessible communication services while providing training. So I really wanted to highlight that, and we're seeing an increase. So I think that's a positive, because that increases our partnership as well. The other thing, I'm not sure how much we tapped on talking about the election and of our involvement working with the clean election. as you know, that Arizona is the first in the nation to actually have a voter guide as you get in the mail, and you can check on the voter guide on the website. It's fully in ASL with the captioning. First in the nation. That was a huge push from Betty and her team in the office, especially with her leadership because of her relationship with the clean election. So that really opened doors and elevate the awareness and education to our communities. I'm really proud of the effort that the team had done. And there was a whole lot of activities, not just doing the video production, but we partnered with the Clean Election on providing, we did a Facebook Live on the election. And that was not just for deaf people, a lot of hearing people participated. So it really blew the Clean Election and realized how much people participated because they knew we were doing that for their own benefit too. So it was a good experience. And so I hope that you took the time to review our report from the staff, the detailed report of the activity that they have done. So I really want to commend Carmen and Betty, their leadership of the different areas of wrestling and overcoming some of the challenges and making sure that we break through those barriers providing services. For example, the unemployment, for people to call DES, there were some issues with that. We reached out to them to address some of the communication assets using telephone services, requesting for services. It's just many of those barriers that we were able to help to resolve some of those challenges. And we still have some areas that we're working on communication assets in different smaller towns, not just here in Phoenix, but other small towns, making sure their information is accessible when having a press conference related with COVID-19, making sure there's an interpreter and captioning, not part of their presentation. So those are some of the things that we are working internally to make sure we can educate the smaller towns and cities to know that they have to make sure their entire press conference is fully accessible and not be selective. Those are just a few things, examples of the things that we have been working on. End of August, we pushed the employment campaign through Facebook Live, and that went very well. Because of the election and COVID-19, our plan was to push the employment campaign in October, but we did a little bit of that. We put that off until after the beginning of 2021. We need to get through this situation. So anyway, but it's off to a good start. We've got some articles that was published recently by Curtis. It was an article written by him, trying to get different people talk about communication and, as an employee who are deaf and hard of hearing and in different background and life experience. So Curtis is one of the first ones. It's a really nice article. We have to make sure, I'm not sure that was in the report, but I'll make sure you get that. And also, Yuma, as I mentioned, we were supposed to have our meeting in Yuma back in May, but we continue to focus our effort in Yuma remotely. We provide focused town hall meetings, focused community forum meetings through our staff. So we continue to work with the Yuma community. So we have not given up, but we try to be creative and maintain our contact with the Yuma community. So that continues. The family services, as you know, we have Sonia on a contract to work with our office to help us to improve providing resources to family and she's been involved in different areas, involved with the Latino families who are deaf and hard of hearing, and she herself can speak fluent in Spanish. So it's really helpful that she can give us feedback and our materials, making sure the it's in Spanish language, accessible for families. And she participates different workshop seminars. She's speaking different workshops on our behalf. Can't remember which month. I'll let Betty mention that when she gives her legislative update. We met with Congressional Greg Stanton when he came to our office. He wanted to meet with us and get some clear math. So I will have Betty feel more on that day, what happened and the results of that day. So we're really excited about the news that she's going to be sharing with you. Also in the report, you will see the state had, what do they call it? It's a statewide employee survey. They've done it for all state government employees by agency and statewide. What you saw in your report is the summary snapshot of our agency results. So we're very proud of the feedback that we received from the staff. One thing that is not in the report, just this week, Tuesday, we had we had a full day staff retreat on Zoom. By 4:59, our eyes about to fall out. We were so tired, but it was a very productive day. We really got a lot of discussion on mainly talk about what is our message. What is it that we want the people to know more about ACDHH? And who are we focusing on? And it's just a wide variety of discussions. So as a result of that, we internally will have on what we're going to call a communication campaign, start planning and strategizing how we can improve our message to the general community and the public that we serve. So I will continue to provide updates. So this is just recently happening. So we have some opportunity that we can do to improve our communication messaging, I guess. That's the summary of my report. I just kind of highlighted different areas. If you have any other question, my executive team is here. So we can answer your question. So I'll just stop from here.
Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate that so much. So then we're going to turn it over to Curtis for the annual report.
Actually, it's my entire executive team. So
okay, perfect.
everyone, it's the executive team effort. Carmen 10 over the years has done it, but now that there's a process internally, Carmen initiates it, Betty reviews it, and she might add, and then Curtis does his financial, and I see everything else. So it depends on your question. We're here to happy to answer.
Okay. So is there anyone that has any type of discussion? This is an opportunity for review or any kinds of questions on the annual report. Any general questions or specific questions? Sherry, do you have any specific topics or details that you want to show specifically from your report?
Working up a very small table because I'm using my laptop. I'm not at my office. I'm like moving my things around. Well, first of all, I want to thank the executive team, especially Carmen and Betty and Katie for putting this together, because they really did a nice design, if you noticed that. So kudos to them. I'm hoping that this report is more clear and transparent on what we have done in the past years. So I really, hold on. Okay, I was looking at the wrong one. If you see the session, if the overall, if the letter from the share, which is PB, because it's required by statute, we have to submit an annual report, and it's always been signed by the board's chair, because the board has to vote. This is an action item tonight. Once it's done, then we would immediately send the report. And we have to put in there our statute and our fiscal year highlights, a budget, and a list of commissioners and the staff, and all the summary of the highlights that we've done in the past year. So really, I think if you look at the report, it's self-explanatory, but we're happy to answer any questions. Carmen, is there anything that you wanted to highlight?
No, I didn't have anything particularly. I think in particular, I believe that, again, in your summaries, the majority of the things across the past year have been focused on that we wanted to call attention to.
Commissioner Benton.
Thank you, Commissioner Jantz. I just want to commend the staff, all of you. It's amazing the challenges that we're all facing and how to do the job that we do and how to continue to function and be effective in what we do in the midst of working remotely, all of the restrictions that we're under. And you guys are so creative and you come up with all different ways, and you must have just great, I don't know, kismet or something between all of you that you come up with great ways to conquer and to do the job that you're tasked with doing, and continue to be a presence, a formidable presence for the state. And it's, I just think it's, I get overwhelmed. How do I do my little piece of the world? And you guys have a humongous chunk, and you do a fantastic job. So I just wanted to say thank you for all of your creativity and your effort.
Yeah, Sherry Collins.
Thank you for that comment. Internally, especially with my executive team, we talk about, we meet every month now, because, we're not in the office. If we're in the office, we should go in each other's office and interrupt and say, we're talking. But now we don't do that. We meet, every month. Plus, I have a one-on-one meeting with my executive team individually. And we talked about our, balancing life, and we noticed that we work longer than we did in the office. So, and, we have to make sure we have a balanced life. And for me, I tell my executive team, because I'm in my home office, this is my own office, but by the time I'm done working, I have to step away from the computer and really take a break. It's been a change, but yeah, and thank you for the compliment, because we do work very hard, and I think we're very effective. What we're doing, I mean, at the beginning was like, what were you supposed to do? We didn't know what to face, but after it became the new normal, things started settling down by late summer. They was like, okay. I mean, that's when, we executive teammates said, let's get back to work. COVID is what it is. And we finished, mailing out all the clear mats, and then we should dive in and do what we're supposed to do as if we're in the office. So I'm really proud of the team that we have in the office, and everyone is working hard.
Okay, thank you. Seeing that there's no other questions, I do have one that I'd like to put out there. Maybe I'm jumping ahead and maybe I need to rein it in and wait a little bit. This may be a question that Betty can answer, but I noticed from the report that it talks about the guiding lead K and how you plans to open that in the next legislative session. So do you have anything that you're going to talk about specifically with that as far as what you're going to be proposing, what you're going to be submitting? Do you have any new strategies? What's your approach? Is it going to be the same as last time? What is your feedback on that?
When we get to the legislative update, Betty will be able to answer all your questions. So that's why I'm not mentioning any of that yet. She'll be able to fill you in and what's going to look like in January and all of that as well.
I know there's just a lot of concerns with COVID, related to taking care of your health and keeping things clean and being in quarantine and social distancing. I didn't know if there was any specific activities that ACDHH was planning on doing as far as sending out communication and what to do to be able to help with safety and the stay at home and being sheltering in place type thing, just to be able to help the community not to be further isolated, how to access the hospitals. If there is an emergency, what do they do? If there's something that happens and they do need testing with COVIDs to see if they're positive or negative, how do they get treatment in the hospital, etc.?
Yes, we are at different avenues, and I'll let the executive team respond, Carmen and Betty. Carmen team, each of the staff does their check-in with some of the clients, or some of them contact directly to them for assistance for information. The other is through our communication platform, website, e-news, and social media. So it's just different areas, and also not just coming from our office, but we reach out to the agency who is sharing information, making sure their information is fully accessible. And I know that some of the effort that is happening with Department of Health, because for a long time their information is not accessible. And Betty finally made a connection with a new person who's working there and making the communication director to make sure that their information is accessible. So things are coming along from that end. So, Carmen and Betty, please feel free to chime in, but I think that's kind of summary, but it's just the different avenues that we have done. Anything to add?
Particularly with the Department of Health Services, I have the ability to sit in on their weekly meetings with the updates about COVID and what types of things are happening. We've shared the information about accessibility for testing sites. We've been very involved with the Maricopa County area, which of course is the largest county, but we've also had some contact with Pima County as well for some of their direct questions about how do they make things more accessible for deaf and hard of hearing individuals. And particularly for Pima County, they reached out to us as ACDHH. We've not had a lot of inquiry from deaf and hard of hearing and deafblind consumers as much. So we are hopeful that the information that we've made available through our different contacts, as well as the information that we provided on our website about accessibility for Zoom meetings and all of these things, we are very positive that service providers have been accessing that information. Our specialists, as they have worked with different agencies and organizations, they've shared that information about equal access. So as Sherry was saying, there are committees that we work on, as well as our staff doing outreach to different agencies. But surprisingly, we have not been overwhelmed with deaf and hard of hearing and deafblind individuals who have had major problems. But for those that have had issues, we work with them one-on-one with that particular agency or organization. And then we circle back, provide additional support to that agency or organization so that other individuals don't experience those barriers.
And I'll just reiterate a little bit more. We still have our COVID bulletin, e-news bulletin, that when we have new information related to, COVID, if there's a new testing site or anything related to vaccinations or things like that, as we receive new information, that's where we are putting it in addition to our social media, particularly our Facebook, as well, to continue to communicate and making sure that the information we're putting out there is done in an accessible way. Sherry did talk briefly about what we were doing from a policy side of things, and it is, we keep pushing and educating about how just because the press conference, it's not a press conference, doesn't mean that the information itself related to COVID, related to access, related to just general information that the hearing community has access to, the same should be attributed to the deaf, the hard of hearing, and deafblind. So we're continuing and continuing and continuing. And we'll continue to continue. That's something extremely important. So we do have that. One of the things that we have noticed is that, and Sherry said it best, is COVID's just now, unfortunately, kind of like our daily life. And so we have seen access to just information in general is kind of scaled out related to COVID. And so there's not new content. It's just, it seems like the Department of Health and other entities are just recycling the same information. So we're just trying to make sure folks are not thinking this is not, the best way to say it is, it's not, we're not reposting old stuff, but it's still relevant, and finding new ways to send that message through our COVID bulletin and our Facebook page.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I just, want to make sure for the community members that are watching that they get the information and kind of get an update on what we're doing here. So I know that they can contact you guys and get the resources and the information that they need. Thanks so much. I think that it is wonderful, and thank you for the update. We can go ahead and discuss the annual report. Yes, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, other than what we just submitted, like I said, it requires board action approval so we can submit by statute. We are required by statute to submit. So we're happy to answer any question.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Are there any other questions related to the board approving the annual report? If there are no further follow-up questions or comments or concerns, then I would entertain a motion to approve the annual report as written.
I do. Then I am going to speak up on page 16. I think it is on the expiration dates. I think that there's old expiration dates of the commissioners and not the current. It has me expired in 2019 and not 2021. And I think there's others as well on that page.
Okay, thank you for that. And so what we can do is we can accept a motions to approve the minutes as needed with the revision of the specific dates modified to the accurate dates. So can we have a motion for that?
So Commissioner Hutch, I move with the clarification of expiration dates of the current commissioners that I move to accept the report, the annual report.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor and I see 2 seconds. I see Commissioner Benton and Commissioner Vanover. Everyone in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Okay, any opposition? Seeing and hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you for that. Sherry, I'll have you look over that with the executive team to get those dates clarified and current, and then that can be approved as needed after the changes have been made. Thank you. And now I'm going to turn it back over and look at the agenda to go over the legislative update.
Hello, everyone. Betty McIntyre. Here, just wanted to chat with you a little bit, give you an update, what's going on with the upcoming legislative session, and then also discuss some key stuff that's happened since our last board meeting. So first up, as Sherry mentioned, we had a meeting with Congressman Greg Stanton. He's Congressional District 9. So he may be some of your guys' congressman. We actually had their clear mask came back as undeliverable, and we took that as an opportunity to reach out to his office and say, hey, why don't you come on over and pick up those masks and let's have a conversation around some important federal legislation. And so when we had him meet with us, we did it in a socially distanced way, wearing our clear mask. You may have seen the pictures on our social media platforms back, I think it was, I don't even remember now, COVID time, a couple months ago. And, we chatted with him around the Alice Cogswell and Macy and Ann Sullivan Act. It's a very long title, about being a co-sponsor for this critical piece of legislation that has continually been introduced in Congress, I believe since 2015. And we've never had an Arizona congressperson sponsor the bill. So we really wanted to take that opportunity to chat with him about this. We discussed with him the importance of the bill, and that as a commission that serves the deaf, the hard of hearing, and the deafblind, and the families and the children who are hard of hearing and deafblind, this was really critical for, as it relates to language acquisition and raising a successful child, and as it relates to their overall education. So we got pretty excited. He left the office and he said, thanks, I'll take this into consideration. And not even a week later, we received the email saying that he would do whatever he could to help move this bill along in Congress. And he signed up as a co-sponsor to this legislation. So we were extremely excited about that. And we're going to continue meeting with our federal delegation now that the election is over, and we can get some more, hopefully more co-sponsors to this bill from Arizona, because it really does needs to move forward, and there needs to be some kind of federal action on this legislation. So the next thing I wanted to chat with you about is, Sherry mentioned the American Sign Language voter education guide. Real quick, from a from an election side of things, I happened to just be chatting with the Clean Elections director, and they let me know that they had so much response from the candidates themselves talking about, because they shared their videos with them and said, hey, check this out. And so many legislators and candidates came back and said, this is amazing. I had no idea. And it provided an opportunity to really talk to the candidates and the elected officials about how language is super important, access is super important. And even one candidate put it on their website under the tab American Sign Language and had her video. So that was pretty exciting to see that. So from our end, and we will definitely be reaching out to those members who won their election in the upcoming session and remind them that, hey, you remember your videos that you posted? That was us. This is what we're going to be doing, and why we're sitting across from you, and talking to you about the importance of accessibility and the importance of equal access and effective communication. Which leads to my next part of my report is the state legislature is scheduled to convene on the second Monday of January with the state of the state. At this point, we do not know at all how they are going to manage and operate session. Every day I make phone calls. Every day I talk to my colleagues, and we just are asking all the same questions. Is this going to be done virtually? Is this going to be done in person? Are we doing a hybrid? Are they going to limit how many people are in a room? Are masks going to be required? There's a lot of questions that the lobbying community are having and asking. I do know that staff at both chambers were required to report back in person at the beginning of November. So that gives an indication that there may be requirements for us to do this all in person. So there are a lot of unknowns about what the upcoming session is going to look like. Theoretically, the legislature could just go in, pass a budget, and sine die immediately, because that is the only thing that they are constitutionally required to do. However, I know that that's not going to happen. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but they're going to do something. We just don't know what. And that is something that we are constantly monitoring. One of the things that I wanted to bring to the board is, if you recall, one of our two pieces of legislation last year, 1056, which was modifying our statutory responsibilities to add deafblind to our statutory definition of communities that we serve, and allowing the commission to provide recommendations to the legislature on the importance of language acquisition and literacy readiness for children who are deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind. That bill barely missed the threshold due to COVID. When the legislature sine died in May, I failed. I could not get it to the floor in the House, which would have allowed it to go to the governor. So it had one final step. So I chatted with the original sponsor a couple of weeks ago. It was her intention to re-sponsor that legislation. And we would just continue to move forward as is in the current version of the bill. Unfortunately, the sponsor of our bill last year, 1056, lost her race. So we are working right now with the Senate to identify a new sponsor that can pick up the reins. My understanding that there should be no questions about us getting a sponsor for our bill, and everyone actually had it on the list to make sure that it got sponsored and it gets heard and goes through the process again. So that's a good sign. We just got to figure out who exactly will be the sponsor of that bill. And I'm working on that right now as we speak. Okay. So are there any questions?
I have a question
Commissioner
on
Hutch?
what was the HR number for the federal legislation? You said the name and it's really long, but do you have the number?
Yes, it's HR 3535.
Any other questions for Betty? Seeing none, thank you so much, Betty. I appreciate the legislative update. An exciting time, a little nerve-wracking at the same time. Looking forward to this upcoming session, trying to see what's going to happen. And it's important to put the pressure on Betty so she can let us know what's going on over at the legislature because the session's about to start. No pressure, Betty.
I'll be there with my hazmat suit.
Okay, I think that this may be the perfect time. I was told that the AG is here in the meeting now. So would you go ahead and introduce yourself, please? Are you there? This is Commissioner Cienko. Maybe they're muted.
Hi, this is Katie. I think she is muted. I'm going to work to unmute her.
Oh, I apologize. I thought that was something on your end that you were intentionally muting me, and I was going to make some, very clever joke about, people, muting me on purpose. But I guess it was me. So this is Krista Laveris. I have the honor to represent the commission, and I apologize for my late arrival. I do not have the ability to download Zoom in my office, which is where I am participating here. It is one of the, as everyone had been noting, one of the unfortunate aspects of having to deal with COVID. We cannot all participate in person, but I am participating via telephone. So thank you so much for asking me to join you at this meeting.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And you got on the line right at the perfect time. We were moving on to agenda item number 7, which is the interpreter inquiries. And I will turn the time over to the executive team and Emmett Hassan to get us started with the interpreter inquiries. And this is Emmett. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again. There are 3 interpreter inquiries on the agenda. There's Renee Olivier, Michael Cox Jr., and also Danielle Cox. I'm assuming that everyone has had the opportunity to review these inquiries, and I will give you a summary of each of the 3 inquiries, and I will begin. I'm working with the interpreters here to make sure that we're on the same page. Give me just one moment. Okay, I'm going to start with Michael Cox Jr. This summary is pretty short and sweet. It says, the inquiry began from Michael Cox Jr. on his initial application stating that he has worked 2 days without license. Mr. Cox Jr. responded that he worked 3 days instead of 2 days without a license within 3 months after his license lapsed. Okay, now I will move on to Danielle Cox. And it's pretty much the same situation. The summary is the inquiry began from Ms. Cox on her initial application stating that she has worked 1 day without a license. Ms. Cox responded that she worked 1 day without a license within 1 month after her license lapsed on 6/20/2020. Now moving on to Renee. This summary is a bit longer. The Registry of Interpreters for the Deaf, or RID, listing of certification revocation information with Ms. Renee Olivier's name on the list was discovered after the standard 30-day administrative completeness letter was sent to the applicant. This information was shared with the Interpreter License Committee, who requested additional information. The ILC requested Ms. Olivier via letter if her response on the July 9th, 2020 generalist license application was correct and accurate. Ms. Olivier admitted that in her statement response that she had omitted this information thinking it would delay her application. And those are the summaries for the 3 interpreter inquiries. Thank you so much, Emmett. We will begin the discussion. We'll start with Michael Cox Jr. and I will open up the floor. Are there any questions, comments, discussion amongst commissioners? I see Commissioner Vanover. You can go ahead and get us started. Thank you. Can you see me okay? It's kind of dark in here. Okay. Oh, let me. Thank you, Emmett. I do have a question. When it's talking about a federal mandate, the picture was freezing a bit. Can you tell me what you mean by that? This is Emmett. I assume it's in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act requiring accessibility. I assume that's what it's about. Okay, I see Commissioner Kneifel.
This is Commissioner Kneifel. I actually believe it is in relationship to VRS interpreters were considered essential workers when COVID hit because VRS is mandated.
And this is Emmett. From my understanding, this is from the VRI environment, not the VRS environment. This is Commissioner Kneifel, correct. This is PV Jantz. So you've had the opportunity to read through this and hear from Emmett. Are there any motions? I see Commissioner Williams. Yes.
I had one question. Excuse me. I had one question. I hope it's not out of place. A couple of these where people were concerned about the cost of renewing their license. Is that a very expensive thing, or is it something that would be expensive to do?
This is Jantz. I think that's a very appropriate question, isn't it? The annual renewal fee is $50. And it has been that fee since 2007. There's not been a fee increase. This is Commissioner Jantz. Any other questions, comments, or discussion for Michael Cox Jr.? This is an action item, so we do need to have a motion or resolution to the situation. And Emmett does have some potential solutions for situations like this. I see Commissioner Benton. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to make a motion. I'd like to move that we fine Michael Cox Jr. for the 3 days of working in the state without a license. And I would, given COVID, given all of these other things, we could reduce the amount of the fine from the maximum of $50 to $25 a day for 3 days.
We have a motion on the floor for a fine of $25 per day, total of 3 days. And it's my understanding that the regular fee is $50 per day, but given coronavirus and the situation that we're in, we're going to reduce that to 25. I see that we have a second from Commissioner Vanover. Any discussion? Anything else that you would like to mention? Okay, oh, yes, Commissioner Kneifel. Oh, you're muted.
I couldn't find my mouse. I'm in agreement with that. I just would like to make sure that when we submit the letter to this individual, we make it clear that this was an exception due to COVID, so that we're not setting another precedent.
This is Commissioner Jantz. Are you okay with that amendment to the motion, the original motion? Yes. Okay, so we have a motion, $25 per day worked without a license for a total of 3 days. And there is that COVID fee reduction, making it $25 instead of $50. And we will make it clear in the letter that it is because of COVID for that fee reduction. Any final comments or discussion? Seeing none, I would like to do a roll call for this vote. Katie, will you do a roll call for us?
Yes, indeed. Just one moment. Just moved myself a little to get comfortable here. I will go ahead and do the roll call for the vote. Commissioner PV Jantz.
Aye.
Commissioner Sarah Benton.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbara Brimhall.
Aye.
Commissioner Judy Hutch.
Aye.
Commissioner Sue K. Kneifel.
Aye.
Commissioner Catherine Cienko.
Aye.
Commissioner Susan Webster.
Aye.
Commissioner Fred Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard Vanover.
Aye.
Commissioner Annette Reichman.
Yes.
And in the event that Commissioner Collinsworth has joined, Commissioner Tamara Collinsworth. Okay, that will conclude roll call.
This is Commissioner Jantz. Thank you so much. Motion carries. And I will have Emmett and his team draft that letter and to make sure that it does specifically mention the fee reduction because of COVID. Moving on to Danielle Cox. Any comments or discussion? I see Commissioner Kneifel.
If no comments or discussion, I would like to move that we follow the same protocol for this offense and assign a fee. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Commissioner Jantz, you were going to say something.
Well, I'm hearing you say that you have a motion, $25 fee per day. And that fee has been reduced because of the COVID situation as well? Okay. And for how many days?
I believe there was a total of 1, if I'm not mistaken.
This is Commissioner Benton. Yes, just 1 day. And this is Commissioner Jantz. Can you add that into your motion, please?
So assign a fine of $25 a day, a reduction from the $50 due to COVID for 1 day of working without a license for a total of $25.
Thank you, Commissioner Kneifel. We have a motion on the floor. Any seconds? This is Commissioner Vanover. I second that. We have a motion and a second. Can we please do roll call again for this vote as well?
Yes, I will get roll call. Okay, so to begin, Commissioner PV Jantz,
Aye.
Commissioner Sarah Benton,
Aye.
Commissioner Barbara Brimhall,
Aye.
Commissioner Judy Hutch,
Aye.
Commissioner Sue K. Kneifel,
Aye.
Commissioner Catherine Cienko,
Aye.
Commissioner Susan Webster,
Aye.
Commissioner Fred Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Richard Vanover,
Aye.
Commissioner Annette Reichman,
Aye.
and Commissioner Tamara Collinsworth. Okay, that concludes roll call.
Katie, can you get Collingsworth's response again? We weren't able to hear it.
Yes, I do notice she's in the meeting and unmuted. Let me go ahead and see if I can get her response via chat. Just one moment. Okay, my apologies. I'm not seeing, hold on just one moment. I apologize. Trying to get in touch with her directly.
I also sent her a private message and checked if she's following the meeting okay. She's not responding either. I see her on the screen, but I don't know if she's able to hear or what.
I have also sent her a chat in the Zoom. Is there protocol that allows us to come back to her at a later time?
Yeah, Sherry?
As long as you have a quorum, then
We
you
do.
can continue. But if she signs in, I mean, for the record, she shows she's here, but she's not responding. So we need to count the ones that are responding. So if we still have a quorum, then you can continue with the meeting.
Abstained.
And we do have a quorum, PV, for the vote.
Thank you so much. We will, on the record, make it known that Commissioner Collinsworth attempted to respond, but we're having some technical difficulties. But we do want to recognize that she is present today. Okay, we had a motion on the table. The motion has passed. And now we will be moving on to the last inquiry, which is Olivier. Any comments, questions, or discussion at this point?
This is Commissioner Hutch. I guess I'm just bothered by her withholding information, feeling that it would slow things up, and only brought it forward because she was caught. So I'm not sure how to approach that, but that's been my reaction to reading it.
Thank you for your comments. I see Commissioner Kneifel.
I could not agree more with that assessment. And while I am inclined to follow the staff recommendations, I would like to see that maybe we recommend that part of those training hours required in a 6 or 12-month probation period would include some type of training on RID's Code of Professional Conduct, because there is verbiage in the Code of Professional Conduct that talks about ethical business practices, and I think that should be addressed.
Thank you, Commissioner Kneifel. I would like to express my concern. It is a bit odd that we have someone who is supposed to be following best practices with the best of intentions in the community, specifically omitting information on an application for a license to serve that population. It gives me concern, and there is a potential red flag for future ethical conduct, potentially. And I can see that there may be a period that this will be appropriate to move forward with. I do see another comment, and then I will move on to Commissioner Cienko. Commissioner Williams?
I had just one comment here that actually applied to the previous two cases. And again, I don't know how appropriate it is, but both those cases cited the federal mandate to accept requests for interpreters. And it might be good at some point to clarify that for the interpreter community, so that people might not use that as a reason to do it, or they might use it legitimately, so that it's not a question, and maybe cite which federal law, if any, supports that.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Emmett, did you want to respond? The question about the mandate, I could follow up on that, but because we've already had votes on those two cases, I'm not sure if we're able to discuss it further.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I wanted to change anything. I was just, because we went quickly through the previous one, we didn't a lot of comment. I just wanted to add that that's all.
Thank you. I will make a note of that for future investigations. We have Commissioner Cienko and then Commissioner Benton. Thank you. When I learned about how this individual omitted information on their application, it made me really think for a minute, because I understand they were concerned about there being a delay with their application, but if she had any doubt, she should have reached out to Emmett and asked for clarification, because if she had explained the situation, she knew that it may have had an extension on her application because of that. I understand that staff may have been able to be a bit more flexible. Some people are experiencing unique circumstances. Some things are happening that we may not know about. And if I were her, if I was hesitant to reach out, I would have just asked any questions that I had, because I know that that may have created a delay, but there's no excuse for her behavior. Commissioner Benton?
And I was just thinking through the federal mandate or any type of a thing like that. If I were an unlicensed interpreter and I was told by someone, oh, it's a mandate that we need interpreters, or whatever, interpreters are essential workers, therefore you have to go and work in the situation, it's incumbent upon me as the professional to know the guidelines of my job, so I wouldn't put myself in that situation.
One thing that I'd like to put out there, when I think it's interesting, is with my job requiring for me, I do have to have a fingerprint clearance card to be able to work. And I have to be ready to provide that and show my fingerprint clearance card if anyone asks me at any time when I'm working on the job. And if somebody were to ask me and I didn't have that available, I would be in violation of a state law. And I needs to be aware of what's required of me in my line of work. And so for them to hide that information, for me, that is in violation. So I think there seems to be confusion maybe with the federal mandates, and that there was some type of cover up that was being used with that. I don't think that that perspective was used appropriately here. The state requires us to have interpreters to have specific licensure, and that needs to be adhered to. According to the state legislation, this individual intentionally omitted information and then admitted that they did that intentionally. So I want to make sure that that is brought out. Emmett, do you have any others that you would like to add?
It's really not that much that I would add. It's been pretty much discussed at this point. But I would, if there are any other questions, we do have our AG on the line. If there's any questions for legal advice or clarification.
Perfect. Thank you. Emmett's right. If there's any more technical questions, we do have the AG on the phone that we can refer to, and we can put on the agenda to be an executive session if needed. If not, I'd like to entertain a motion in response to this situation. I see Commissioner Benton and then Commissioner Vanover.
First, I would just like to clarify, we have not approved the license for this individual. So we had a meeting earlier today and we went through the list of applications, and this application was on the list and it was not approved during our meeting because it's being brought to the whole group. And so now it would seem to me that the decision before us is twofold. One, to approve the license or not, her application, and two, if we do choose to approve the application, then is there some type of following the action recommended by staff, or whatever action is the will of the board?
I think it's interesting that you bring this up, Commissioner Benton, and which situation, I think which one depends on the other, and how do we go about this, which one comes first. So maybe we should go into executive sessions to be able to ask the AG and see if there are any concerns about how we address this. Commissioner Vanover and then Commissioner Kneifel. For this situation, I do have a little bit of concern with information being omitted, but I wanted to ask Emmett, has this happened before, and what has the commission done in these situations? Have we set any type of precedent with this type of situation before? Emmett? Okay, I'm just trying to catch up here. So there have not been any previous incidences with this specific kind of situation that we have encountered, specifically related to false information being represented. So this is a new precedent that we would be setting here.
Commissioner Kneifel?
Commissioner Kneifel? You're on mute. We can't hear you.
I'm trying to gather my thoughts a little bit so that I have a coherent sentence to put out to you guys. Like I said earlier, I'm inclined to go with staff's recommendations to approve a 6-month license under probation with the amount of, I would say, 20 hours of continuing ed, and a portion of those being in CPC and ethics. But I also kind of liken this to someone who gets caught driving without a license. And ignorance of the law does not excuse you in that situation, as it would not excuse you here. And in that situation, if you are driving without a license, you may forfeit the ability to get a license for a certain portion of time. And so part of me leans in that vein as well. So, you know, I could go either way on this and decline a license for a year and have them reapply in a year. But part of me also feels like if we grant them a 6-month probationary license, we have more oversight, and then also requiring the additional CEUs or training, there would have to be some accountability back to us for them to then reapply for a license.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I do have a question as we're considering all of these options, and I'm weighing in on them based on your discussion. We seem to kind of be at a kind of standstill here. There's nothing specifically in the legislation that says if someone intentionally omits information on their application that they would be disqualified. Is that correct? This is Emmett, I can't specifically speak to that, but as a reminder, all of the criteria for the application have been met. It's just was a matter of responding to the question specifically in and of itself. So while I'm here, I would like to put out I'm trying to review the licensure rules to see if it's good for a year as defined, but I can't answer that myself as well. Let me look here.
This is Commissioner Jantz. It sounds like there are some potential legal questions, so we may need to ask our Assistant AG if you feel that we need to consult with the Assistant AG. If so, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session. Otherwise, we can proceed with a motion, but there's no precedent set, and I do feel that it's important that whatever precedent we set today is clear and has good footing for the future. So if we find ourselves in a similar situation. I see Commissioner Vanover.
Yes, I definitely agree that I'd like to go into executive session and move into executive session.
We have a motion to go into executive session. Do we have a second? Commissioner Webster.
Second, it's Sue Webster, Commissioner Webster.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to go into executive session. All in favor say aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, we will go ahead and move into executive session. Okay, so you can go ahead and log out of live stream and we will consult with our AG.
Okay, this is Jeremy. So what we're going to do is we're going to move everybody into a breakout room. Not everybody, but the people who are going to be involved. So I need to know who is going to stay in the main Zoom room, and I will move the rest of the people into a breakout room. I'll move the captioner into a breakout room as well as the interpreters. And then as far as staff members, who do we want to go into the breakout room?
Emmett, so Sherry Collins, Carmen. And that's it.
Okay, so Emmett will not be going, and okay. So once you guys are done.
No, Emmett will be going. Emmett, Sherry, and Carmen.
Okay. And so then once you're done, you'll need to let Katie or myself know, and then we'll bring you back into the main room.
And this is Crystal Averis, and I believe I am caller 1. Is that correct, Emmett?
I've renamed you, so I'll move you over.
Thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
And while that's happening, can we have a little break?
Actually, that is a great question. So while we work to get this breakout room established, why don't you go and we go into executive session. Let's start this at 6:01, and we can take a very short break as we go into executive session.
Okay, and I'm moving you now.
So Jeremy, we're staying live?
We are staying live from the main room.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna shut my video down then?
Are you not going?
No,
Okay.
She said Carmen and Emmett.
Gotcha. I'm going to go take a break real quick. I'll be right back. Jen, can you hear me? Hi, Curtis. Hey, Jen, can you hear me? All right, it looks like everybody's back.
Thank you so much. We will begin the meeting again at 6:42 p.m. Unfortunately, we only scheduled the interpreters for 2 hours. We're past that time frame. We had to release one of our interpreters. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate that. I do have a question for another interpreter, Dustin. Do you feel comfortable continuing, or do you think you need a break for the evening? I can keep going. So keep in mind that now we only have one interpreter, so we need to make sure that we are speaking one at a time and speaking clearly, and that we're communicating clearly as well. Thank you, Dustin. Really appreciate that. Appreciate you volunteering to stay. We just left executive session where we discussed the complaint, and we, as the chair, will be tabling that conversation until the next meeting. If we do come to a determination before our following meeting, we can have an emergency meeting. All right, we need to move on with the agenda. We unfortunately spent a lot of time on that last agenda item, and I do see some individuals who seem a bit upset. I will take 2 comments for agenda item number 8. And in the event that there are no comments, we will move on to agenda item number 9. We have a comment from Commissioner Kneifel and then a comment from Commissioner Cienko.
My only concern and comment at this point is how it impacts the timeline for staff. And so they have 2 days or 3 days left to make this determination. And I am not comfortable with us as the board holding them up.
Thank you. What we will do is we will ask for an extension on the application. If that is favorable, then we will move forward with that. If not, we will call an emergency meeting. Commissioner Cienko. I share the same concern as Sue Kay. I feel that with the limited number of days left, just 2 or 3 days at this point, I don't feel that it would be fair to hold up the ACDHH staff in their process. I acknowledge that, and I share a similar concern. At this point, we do need to have more clarification on the discussion with the executive team and staff. So at this time, we're going to table that discussion. Moving on to agenda item number 9. I know that we are running out of time, and for the sake of the interpreter, do we want to proceed with this discussion, move on with the elections tonight as well, or do you want to table the elections to the next board meeting as well? Remember, there are some positions that may be filled in the future, and there are some current positions that may be vacant. Any comments? Commissioner Kneifel?
I would suggest that we table elections until we have a better idea of what a full board is going to look like, because I know there's many of us that already have our commission expired and several more that just recently expired in August. And I think it would be silly to elect a new board that may not be serving next year.
Any other thoughts or comments? Seeing none. Oh, Commissioner Benton, yes.
This is not about this topic. Is it okay to make a comment about a different topic? Yeah.
Related to an agenda item?
Yes, it is. You jumped over item number 8 and the emergency rulemaking. I just want to make sure that if staff have specific concerns and there are things that they want us to help address, that we hear what their concerns are and see what it is that we need to do to assist them.
Thank you. I was planning on mentioning that. So sounds like we are going to table the elections until the next board meeting. We will put that on the next board meeting agenda, and we can make those decisions at that time. Are there any staff members that want to go over the future meeting dates for 2021?
Here. Yeah, I just hope, especially ASDB and NAT and 2K, hopefully you saw the date. Are there any conflict with ASDB 2021 meeting calendar?
This is Commissioner Reichman. I haven't looked at the dates yet to see if there are any.
Okay, here's my recommendation. These are the dates that we present, kind of very similar to last year. If there's no concerns, we can always, change the date. There's a conflict with ASDB at the next board meeting, but you can, accept the proposed dates with the understanding there's a possibility would be a conflict, and then we can address that at the next meeting.
This is Commissioner Jantz. Thank you, Sherry. Any other comments on the board meeting dates for 2021? I'll entertain a motion otherwise. This is Commissioner Vanover. Oh. Okay, all right, I'll go. Commissioner Vanover, I move that we accept the board meeting dates.
Commissioner Hutch, I second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Vanover and a second from Commissioner Hutch. All in favor? Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries. Okay, I would like to go back to agenda item number 8, the emergency rulemaking and the impact of COVID-19 on interpreter licensure, and I will turn the time over to ACDHH staff. That'll be Carmen.
This is, thank you. This is Carmen, and I will try to keep this very short. Earlier today, we shared the information about the inquiries and concerns that we've been receiving, particularly from legal aid licensed interpreters, about the January 1st deadline for them to receive the CIC, which is the legal license performance certification from BEI. We've been looking at our numbers, and it looks as though if we hold to that standard, the number of legal aid interpreters will be reduced to half capacity. Currently, there are 54 individuals in that category in the legal aid, and it would be reduced to 27 if that rule remains effective, in effect, or comes into effect on January 1st. So we've had several individuals to reach out to us. We covered this issue in April or May, our last board meeting, and we shared with you all that we had not been given permission to deviate from any of our rules or our statutes. due to any COVID reasons for any current licensees or even any new applicants. I think many of you know that a lot of the testing options, or the primary testing option for legal A, is currently not available for individuals to go and take a performance test. So many of those individuals who may have been able to test or were scheduled to test have now been postponed until further notice. There is not a specified date as to when they can go take that performance test. That will mean a great impact on the legal setting, the legal environment for deaf consumers, as well as the court officials that oversee these processes. So we did reach out. Sherry had Betty and I work together and reach out to our liaison with the governor's office to see what our options might be. So we shared our concerns about the legal aid licenses, as well as we've begun to discuss internally impact that COVID might have had on other classifications of licenses. So what we wanted to bring before you tonight was just an opportunity to get additional direction from you as to what the staff may want to do when working with the governor's office, so that we'd have the liberty to see what options the governor's office would offer us and what would be in the best interest of the public to make sure that we mitigate any of the negative impact of COVID-19 as much as it is possible. We can't make any promises. The emergency rulemaking process has been one of the options that's on the table. And with further discussions, we may find that there could be other options. We do not know. There is still a moratorium on rulemaking in general. We do not know for certain if one of the options would be to go into a regular rulemaking process. In the past, we have been given an exemption for that, but we want to be able to carry on those discussions with the governor's office and share the impact of COVID-19 and see what options can be provided for us to make sure that any individuals who use ASL as primary communication, that they are not facing additional barriers regardless to what environment they might utilize those ASL services. And I don't know if I do know that in the emergency rulemaking process, there are some limitations on the number of days that emergency rule would have impact. So again, the broader spectrum is just with your support to continue the conversations so that all classifications of licenses can be considered, and then we work within the parameters given to us by the governor's office. And I'm going to check and see if there's anything that Betty would want to add before perhaps we have members of the ILC respond.
This is Betty. I don't have
Betty
anything.
is shaking her head no, that she doesn't have anything additional to add. And with that, that's it, unless you have questions.
This is Commissioner Jantz. Any comments or questions for Carmen? I see Commissioner Benton.
Thank you. I would just support the staff's effort to explore options to have extensions granted for legal A interpreters. If we look at 6-month time periods, or we have a finite time period where we could have those extensions granted, they would still need to maintain their credential with the CEUs and all of the other requirements of their license, but have the actual ACDHH state license, or the state license, extended for a period of perhaps 6 months. I don't know, whatever you guys explore, but I think that you need to have the option to look into that.
This is Commissioner Jantz. Any other comments? Remember, this is an action item, so we do need to make a determination based on Carmen's comments. I see Sherry Collins.
This agenda item is put there for your consideration. If you choose not to do anything, you don't have to make a recommendation. Just leave it alone. If nobody feels there's a need to change anything, then you don't have to take an action. But we put it on the agenda to allow the board to have that discussion and make a decision if you wish to take an action, just to let you know that.
This is Commissioner Jantz. Any other comments from board members? I see Commissioner Benton.
I just want office staff to have our support and not feel hamstrung in that they can't move on and look into this. And if there are things that I'm sure other states are dealing with the same thing, because this is if the test is on hold, the test is on hold. So we have legal A interpreters all over the country that are now not able to move forward. So I wonder what's happening in other places, but I would hope that the staff would be supported by the rest of us, that they could explore this further.
This is Commissioner Jantz. Any other comments? Any other input? Seeing and hearing none, I assume we can move on to agenda item number 11, which is future agenda items. I know that we did table the complaint for Renee Collier. That will be put on the next agenda. We also will put the officer elections on the next agenda as well. I see Commissioner Kneifel.
I'm not sure that this is an agenda item, but I would like to see some clarification in all future minutes of what actions the board can take in regard to interpreter complaints or inquiries on applications, so that it is defined in the minutes moving forward based on what's in statute and the rules.
This is Commissioner Jantz. Thank you so much. I agree, and I would like staff to explore the options and get clarification there as well. That way we know for the future. All right, if that is it, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn after my comment, which is thank you so much for everyone's time. I really appreciate your willingness to be a part of this process. It's a wonderful way to, it's a wonderful thing that we're able to display to the community and to show that the community does have a voice and that their voice is protected and that we are here for them. I appreciate all of your work. And also keep in mind that there are vacant positions. If you know of anyone, if you have a term that's going to expire, please reach out to those individuals and have them apply. If they're unsure of whether or not they should apply, have them reach out to me or Executive Director Sherry Collins, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that they may have, tell them, sweet talk them and get them on the board. With that said, have a wonderful holiday, stay safe out there, take care of yourself, care for your family and your loved ones. And now I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Cienko?
This is Commissioner Cienko. This is not the first time people have confused me with Suke. Must be the hair. I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
This is Commissioner Vanover. I second that. We have a motion from Commissioner Cienko to adjourn. Several seconds. All in favor? Any opposition? Seeing none, thank you all. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful weekend. Take care of yourselves.
Happy Thanksgiving.